Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our on-site Justice and Pieces here at TriOS College. Thank you all for tuning in, and we have outside a number of the candidates as well as people from the paralegal community and some students. So really happy to be able to do this here. First, I'd like to start by acknowledging the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Ananeshpic, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. So once again, it is the day or the eve before voting starts, and we'd encourage everyone that is listening that has the ability to vote, whether for the lawyer candidates or the paralegal candidates, to vote early. I guess you can't vote often, but you have up to 5 votes here in the upcoming election. And regardless of who you wish to support, please go out there and exercise your right to vote. So we are going to get started here with 5-minute speeches from the candidates. And first up, we have Yanni ready to go. So I think he is outside, and look to bring him in and get everything going.
I guess I'll start with why am I running for bencher. In 2020, COVID happened, as we all know, and the Ontario government shut down most tribunals and small claims court. In November, I was asked to attend at Superior Court on a judicial pretrial for a jury matter, and that court was having jury trials when we couldn't even have a settlement conference in small claims court. So I started reaching out to the paralegal associations and other avenues to find out what we can and can't do to get stuff moving again. I know that many paralegals were not working, and it was hard for the profession. So I didn't get much help there at the association, so I ended up turning around and taking it on myself. I also started looking into what was happening with the actual profession, and I realized that nothing was actually moving towards helping paralegals or assisting access to justice issues. Even though the higher courts were open, there was nothing helping the everyday Ontarian. So when I got the email last October, November that we were doing the bencher elections this year, I decided to look into it and run. Writing the government did help. I did get responses from them. They are on my website, paralegalrights.ca. And with that, there was some movement with the government. Outside of that, I also started advocating for the profession by promoting us in the media. I've got us on consumer alerts to let people know that we can go to small claims court and hire a paralegal and not just a lawyer. I also got us on CP24 to show that we can do corporate bylaw offenses. You don't always need a lawyer to do that. You can basically get a paralegal, save money, and get results. I've also been in the Globe and Mail to show that you can fight airlines through small claims court and also the Canada Transport Agency, which is a federal tribunal. Paralegals can do all this, yet the public doesn't know, and that is an issue that the Law Society needs to correct. Then, outside of that, I started looking into the fundamentals to see why these issues were happening, and I realized that the Law Society has 40 lawyers on the board at convocation, 8 lay benchers, and 5 paralegal benchers. There is clearly a conflict there, and the Law Society has a conflict and is in conflict by regulating paralegal scope. And no one has actually dealt with that issue. The conflict needs to be resolved, and the only way you can do that is by taking the scope out of the Law Society's hands. A third party that is neutral without lawyers or paralegals needs to determine what should be happening. In 2016, Justice Boncalo made a report saying that there was 57% of litigants in family law that were self-represented. That number is still not getting any better. That's 21,000 litigants in family court that are unrepresented a year. The court needs to address this, and the Law Society's been made aware of this for 6 years now and has done nothing. They created the FLSP, which doesn't even give the minimum suggestions that Justice Boncalo did in her report. We also have to look at the fact that there's an access to justice issue in Ontario, and we're not actually doing anything to address that. So I want to deal with these two issues, the conflict and the access to justice issue. To fix the access to justice issue, we need to expand paralegal scope and actually do stuff that is meaningful change. Doing a report that took 6 years to do to create a FLSP license that is a secondary license to what is already in the market is counterproductive and contrary to access to justice. So we need to fix access to justice. We need to fix the conflict at the Law Society, so then that way we can move on and get actual issues fixed for the profession. Once the basic is met, we'll be able to do something a little more. We'll be able to do more with our license. We can do a lot right now, but it's not enough to actually make an effective change. I've run numbers to see that there's only a 5% retention rate of paralegals in the profession. In 2019 to 2021, close to 3,000 paralegals were newly licensed, and in that time, only 173 paralegals are actually still in the field. That's an embarrassing number. We should not have a 5% retention rate for a profession that has very educated people. Everyone is leaving. They're leaving because they're not happy and there's no job opportunities here. So those have to be fixed. And that's everything I have to say. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My number is 416-288-8890. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Yanni. We are just waiting to confirm who the next person that's going to be out here. So just give us a few minutes and we will continue on. All right, continuing on, we have Surumya. You can start.
Hi. I just wanted to say, only I can do it is overconfidence. I can do it is confidence. I just wanted to say that I can do it. I don't need 5 minutes to explain why you should vote for me. All I want to say is use this opportunity to vote. I am nothing special, but all I understand is there is only one field that I know, and that is law. And I totally believe in the system, in the justice system, in the legal system, and the interpretations of law. This is our chance to bring our profession. This is our chance to get our profession together. And the only way by doing this, the only way to do this is by voting. So please go out, read about your candidates and vote. Each and every one of us come with a different skill set. And all I want to say is you would want somebody, seeing all these debates, I would just want to say that you would want to be with you would want to vote for somebody who at least respects you enough to understand your accent, who respects you enough to understand your belief. And I would do that for you. And I would also go far and beyond to fight for you, because if you do, and if you choose to vote for me, I will be more than happy to be your representation. I will be more than happy to let the big bosses know that I am your representation and I am here to fight for your interest. That would be all from me. Thank you.
Thank you there. I think our next speaker we have is Tony Caruso. He's joining us here via Zoom. So let's give me a second here to turn it over to Tony. Tony, are you here?
Can you hear me okay? It just says loading.
There we go. I see you loud and clear, I guess, or I hear you loud and clear. All right, so Tony, you got 5 minutes here. Tell us why vote for Tony Caruso.
Thank you so much, JP. I just want to take this time to give my apologies for not being present. I had some beautiful butter tarts for everybody to share, but I guess in the future, I got a big trial tomorrow. But yeah, let's get to the question here. Why vote for Tony Caruso? So I am the only candidate that's aggressive. I'm the only candidate that's going to fight for paralegal rights, and I'm the only candidate that will not take no for an answer. And just even on the debates on Saturday, we had a lawyer that tried to push his own interest and not even talk about paralegal interest, and I had to set him straight. So that is what you're going to be getting, ladies and gentlemen, at Convocation. I'm no longer asking for satisfaction. I'm going to demand satisfaction. What's happening with paralegals right now is you have full stop and you have good governance, and it seems that they're working together, as ironic as that sounds. And they want to bring forward a competency levy. I do not support this. I will not support this when paralegals are already subsidizing lawyer fees. If you take a look at the fee structures, ladies and gentlemen, lawyers pay $2,200 a year and a paralegal pays $1,200 a year. What does that mean? That means we're paying half of what a lawyer pays, and we do not even have half of the scope. So I'm fully against that because paralegals are overpaying this. We're paying into legal aid. 75% of our interest money is going towards the foundation. I'm going to put a stop to that immediately. So if paralegals are not good enough to collect legal aid or to be part of legal aid, we're not going to support legal aid. It's simple as that. We can use that money towards other initiatives. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to clear something up because I feel that there has been miscommunication about the Discrimination and Harassment Council and how I wanted to fund it. So people are saying, Tony, do you really want to get rid of this? This is going to hurt us. So let me explain something to you. The Discrimination and Harassment Council works like this. If I want to file a complaint against JP, for an example, because I feel he discriminated against me or he harassed me for some way, and they contact JP and say, JP, do you want to join this resolution? JP could say, no, I'm not going to join. There's no recourse. So when he says no, ladies and gentlemen, the file closes. So at the end of the day, what is the purpose of having this as an initiative? Sure, does it make sense? Absolutely. It's nice, but it's got no teeth. So it's either we're going to give it teeth, which I support, or we're going to defund it, because what's the point of spending almost hundreds of thousands of dollars on a program that's not going to work and it's not benefiting anybody? So again, it feels nice and cozy to have something like this, ladies and gentlemen, but at the end of the day, we've got to have something with teeth. So I want to get that cleared up. I am willing to give it a chance, but if Convocation doesn't want to support me on this, then we got to defund it, because this is a waste of money. At the Law Society, people are getting paid $150,000 a year, $200,000 a year. Those people deserve to be on the sunshine list, ladies and gentlemen. We need to know what exactly why they're getting paid that much money when we can hire somebody else that does it for $80,000 or $90,000. What's the purpose of $200,000? So is this the purpose why they want paralegals to pay a levy, is to support their crazy spending? So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. I'm going to leave it in your hands. If you don't want to vote for me, that's fine. I respect your decision. At the end of the day, this is what my goal is. I want to raise our voter turnout from 20% from last election, which that's a very horrible number to see, 20%. I want to see at least 55% or even 60%. That's my goal. I want the profession to come in there. If you all, because you guys have been messaging me on LinkedIn, you've been messaging me on Facebook, emailing me, it seems you all are upset. So am I. So if you're upset, cast your vote. I want you to vote as your life depends on it, because it does. So make sure you get out and vote. Make sure you vote for Caruso, and I will never let you guys down. What you see is what you get. I'm very direct, and I'm going to fight for the last breath that I have, even if I have to sacrifice myself. At the end of the day, it's about the profession, and I believe I have proven myself over and over and over again. I proved myself in regards of us getting notaries. I proved myself on now the Law Society is allowing paralegals to become prosecutors. That's amazing. Only took 4 years of Caruso yelling and screaming at them. And, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a lot of changes that's happening at the Law Society. So this election, I hate to say it, but it seems it's one extreme to the other. You need to vote for independent candidates. So make sure you guys, give me a chance. I'm not going to let you down. And I look forward to, if you decide to give me this chance to be a bencher, I look forward to having, monthly meetings with you all. I want to hear your suggestions. I want to hear your concerns. And you know what? We're in this together. You know what I mean? So let's be united. And, we're going to do this. So at the end of the day, I want to congratulate every single person who's put their name in the hat, even though we don't see eye to eye. I respect that. And so I want to take this time to say thank you to everyone putting their name in the hat. And no matter whoever wins, make sure you're fighting for the profession and taking care of the public interest at the same time. And paralegals are the public interest as well. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. JP, you did a great job, and keep up the great work.
Thanks so much, Tony, there. And we'll probably just pause here for a few minutes before we have the next person come in. So thanks again, Tony, and probably give us about 2-3 minutes till we have the next one out. All right, so we are back with our next candidate, Vladimir. So Vladimir, the floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Jean-Paul. Hello, everybody. This has been a long campaign. It seems not obvious, only 2 months or 2.5 months or so, but it's been very intense. And I wish I had more time to prepare for this interview, but today was a rather stressful day for me at one of the tribunals. What I wanted to say as sort of my last words is in one of the Zoom calls that was, I think it was a YRPN, I was asked this question about how I would find the time, given my other business interests, how would I find the time to be a bencher and to dedicate my time to being a bencher? And I think I've answered it rather well, and I didn't evade the question. I didn't pivot onto other things. I think I would have preferred if a question was, hey, Vladimir, what do you think about family law license, and what do you think about how that affects paralegals and how that affects access to justice? But I suppose I've already answered that question before, so you guys already know my answer to that question. I wish I was also asked about my stance on immigration. I wish I was asked, hey, Vlad, what do you think about holding the Law Society to its duty to access to justice and its duty to the public, and making sure that the public gets competent and affordable immigration services that paralegals are already capable of providing? But I guess you guys already have my answer on that. I've already given it. And I also wish I was asked, hey, maybe what do you think about some other areas of expansion of scope where paralegals are ready to stand recognized? But I've already given those answers. I've researched them quite well. I've delivered my responses in a series of YouTube videos every week on Thursday and a few times in between. And I've identified some areas that are outside of the big three that I call immigration, divisional court appeals, and family law. And including in those, I see where paralegals could immediately receive recognition is drafting residential leases. Ironically, as a real estate broker, I mentioned that I can attest to you that real estate agents have far less training than paralegals in drafting residential leases, and if authorized, paralegals could have an immediate impact on access to justice across every community in Ontario, could have an immediate and palpable impact on reducing the costs of operation of the real estate and tenant board and reducing the processing and waiting times for those hearings. But then again, I wish I had been asked those questions in those debates, but I suppose you already have the answers because I've already given them to you. And at the same time, I wish I had been asked questions about how important it is to balance fiscal responsibility and fiscal equity, but I've already provided those. How I would look at the tribunal and discipline system of the Law Society and why paralegals are being disciplined at a higher and harsher rates than lawyers. I've already given those answers as well. And the way I've given those answers is through a lot of research, putting in a lot of time, a lot of dedication into not only painting you this wonderful platform vision of where I want to take you as a point B, but also to get a clear understanding of where the point A is for us and what steps we need to take in order to get there. And ironically, the question I was asked is, well, how do you find the time? How will you find the time given your other commitments to that role? And so my answer to that is, I suppose, in the pudding. I have demonstrated that I have the dedication, I have the preparation, and I have the skill and the discipline and my passion for taking the time and for serving the public, governing the paralegal profession. And that's how I stand before you and asking for your vote today.
Perfect. Thank you, Vlad and Vladimir. Sorry, my wife will be upset. I keep messing the short there, but thanks so much.
Thank you, John Paul.
All right. So next up, we have Frank joining us off Zoom here. So just give us a minute here, and I think we'll be ready to go.
JP, I am here.
All right, Frank, whenever you are ready, you have 5 minutes to make your closing remarks.
Hey, thank you, JP. Nice to speak to you once again. Well, thank you for this opportunity, this being, I gather, the last one, quite frankly. It's good to be here, good to address the people before us, TriOS people, my candidate colleagues as well. And I'd like to point out a few things that are troubling to me, but of great concern to me. You know, throughout this whole campaign, there's been a lot of promises, a lot of things said that, quite frankly, I have no idea how they could come into fruition. No idea whatsoever. We have candidates that are practicing less than 10 years, maybe less than 5 years too. We have candidates who have other responsibilities, young families. I don't know where the commitment will be on that part, but they're good people and they have good points, and we all share a lot of these points. We agree on a lot of things, make no mistake about it. My real concern is that with respect to being an independent bencher candidate. You know, with any history whatsoever, don't have to go back too far, but 2019. And indeed, we had the stop group, the slate there, that usurped everything and came in, and from everything that we know and everything purported, they made quite a noise during convocation. Seems to be that now that we have another slate, that's a good governance, people. So we have two slates here. I guess they're going to battle each other out there. Indeed, as the paralegals, we have the Good Governors Coalition as well, who are joining in on that. I'm only a small fish, but I have principles. But I think, if not myself, surely as an independent, we need independent benchers there to sort of be able to talk to both sides. Because I'll tell you, JP, when it comes to convocation and these 40 lawyers and maybe some paralegals as well joining in on the slates, it's going to be a polarization. It's going to be a political mess. It's going to be one that's going to possibly threaten our own self-regulation, and that's really worrisome. The government of the day is not going to sit back and watch this if they're not in the same agreement with the policies. And they may indeed take action that won't be something forthcoming we would enjoy. So there are great concerns I have. And so I speak of myself and possibly other independent benchers that we need to have independent benchers. No mistake whatsoever. We don't have that singular ideology. I know, I hear that there isn't an ideology that's similar and everybody votes on their own, but they're together to start with on a slate, but they vote on their own. And I don't know, I kind of find that somewhat suspect, and I like to think Many of our fellow paralegals might find the same thing too. So I think there is need, indeed, with respect to an independent bencher. Now, with respect to the other matters, there's so much we agree on. I mean, the expansion of the scope. I mean, promoting but the key, of course, is promoting access to justice. It's just the whole thing. This is the whole premise. This is our platform. It should be our platform. We have to protect the public, and that should be part of it as well. And I think we're on line with that. I really do. But it concerns me that any concerted effort as a coalition, as a slate, it's worrisome. I don't see them voting necessarily on their own. I don't see anything but an ideology that's similar, and that's worrisome. So that really is the premise of my concern with regards to this going forward. As far as myself, my goodness, union president for a number of years, a previous employment with the WSIB, and I say to you, show me a lawyer coming out of law school who knows anything about WSIB, whether they can get into it or not. I don't think so. But having said that, I've got the skills. I've got the governance skills. I've got the experience. My scope of practice involves just about everything that would cover all our paralegals. I'm here, all the tribunals, I've done them all. So my scope of practice, which I'd like to exceed and expand as well, surely covers most of our paralegals we have at this time. And I'd be willing and wanting to help them out. The other aspects, yeah, let's get into these committees. If I'm a bench of the committee, climate is a big one for me. Education's another one. Of course, the expenses and the terms of fees and all that. We'll look at all that stuff, but the regulators, they know what they're doing, and we can only support them in that endeavor for sure. So I ask everybody, take a look at me. I've got the experience, I've got the skills. A vote for me is a step towards supporting you one further step at a time. Thank you, JP. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Frank. I'm just waiting for Michelle Lamazo to join us here off Zoom, and she'll be the next one up. Hi, Michelle. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you, JP?
Good. I feel like, I'm doing a little bit better than the Love is Blind stream on Netflix on Sunday, but a lot more complicated when you're in person than when everyone's on Zoom. So it's a different challenge, so to speak here. But Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you. You have 5 minutes to make your sort of closing statement here as to why the paralegals that are listening should vote for you.
So thank you, JP. I don't believe I'll use my 5 minutes. To be honest, I have been so sick the last few weeks with an awful flu. But I wanted to at least attend tonight to say thank you to you for all you've done during this election for both paralegals and lawyers to address the importance of voting and understanding the issues. So thank you to you and TriOS for doing that and for organizing tonight. I would have been there if it hadn't been for this awful fatigue. And I apologize, now the phone is ringing. So I guess what I wanted to say more than anything is to make sure that people vote. In the last election, we had less than 20% of paralegals vote. It's so important to the profession that you vote. And to see my platform or learn more about me, feel free to go to my website or to LinkedIn, where you can find all of that information. And listen to your video. That's a great way to pick up people's platforms and understand their positions. The last thing I want to say about voting is that I'm the only current paralegal bencher who is running for re-election. And I'm hoping we won't have a brain drain at the Law Society. Certainly, paralegals would be at a huge disadvantage if there was no paralegal bencher there with some institutional knowledge. So becoming a bencher means having to address all kinds of issues. It takes a good couple of years to learn the ropes. So hopefully I'll be there to lead the other 4 benchers elected. So somebody has some of the knowledge about how things go. Most importantly, I wanted to address your students, and I want you to know how excited I am about your graduation. I wish you all the best of luck with your P1 exam, and I'm really hoping that I am reelected so that I can greet you at the Law Society's welcome reception for paralegals. So an invitation will be sent to you sometime within the year after you graduate. Please attend. It's a great opportunity to meet the treasurer of the Law Society, to meet paralegal benchers, lawyer benchers, to network. The importance of networking is huge. And please remember, you have all kinds of areas to practice in. So please don't feel the need to fit into the neat big three that are largely taught at school, the POA, small claims court, and LTB. I do WSIB. It's all I've done for over 30 years. I absolutely love it. You can teach yourself, you can learn, reach out to mentors. At the Law Society, there's the Coach and Advisor Network. And you can make, it is a great profession. The paralegal profession is going places. So welcome to the profession. Reach out if there's anything that I can do for you. Good luck to you. And you're lucky to have such a great professor with JP. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And we're going to probably pause here for a few minutes. I think waiting for Rogers to join us, and then we'll continue on. So thanks, everyone. And just give us about a few minutes here before the next speaker. All right, so we are back. Hopefully you watch your own commercials there. We are sponsored here, I guess, by TriOS College for generously hosting us. There are butter tarts here, Tony. So you're missing out there, the right from the old Osgood restaurant, Cassis Bake. Thank you for providing those here. And continuing on, we have Mike Redan. So Mike, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, JP, and thank you for the opportunity. And also want to thank you for doing the whole Justice in Pieces series. Hopefully it was very informative for voters. And I think today we're 1 day away from voting starting up until April 28th. I think voters have had a chance to see everybody's platform. They research it and so on. So I won't get into those kind of details today. I think that what I will do is I will impress on the voters that this is a very important election. Paralegals have been regulated now for 15 years, and we've made some strides forward with family law, the FLSP license, and different things like that. And so the profession can continue to go forward, or we can slide backwards if you don't elect the right benchers. So what we need at Convocation now is benchers that have experience with governance, that have professionalism, and can work with others and bring decorum back to Convocation. I think we need to work collaboratively with lawyers and paralegals together to move both professions forward. I think, like I said, you've gone through the platforms, we've seen everything. I'm just asking you today for your vote. Vote for myself, Mike Redan, my good governance fellow teammates, Michelle Lamazzo, Dimitra Dimokopoulos, Deborah Mora, and Paula Callahan. So we have all the things that are necessary to move the profession forward and be your voice at Convocation and give the paralegal perspective. We would be, the 5 benchers at Convocation are the face of paralegals. So elect benchers that are professional, experienced, and can work well with others. So thank you very much, and vote early, vote often.
Thank you, Mike. I think we now have Rajesh. So Rajesh is going to be joining us in a minute.
Yeah, I'm here, JP. Thank you.
Perfect there. So Rajesh, you have 5 minutes here to make your closing remarks here in this 2023 paralegal bencher election.
Thank you very much. Hi, good evening, JP, and good evening, viewers. I am Rajesh Sehgal here. And we have already discussed my platform in the interview with the JP and during the debate on April 15 and April 16. Nothing more to add. You can view my profile and it's all in the public domain. I never aspired to be the bencher, but when I saw that some of the candidates who have been running and filing nominations are not very optimistic regarding the our scope of practice, and they had expressed their concerns on their platforms and on regarding the paralegals' education. And then I thought that this is a time I cannot ignore it, and I have to somehow run for and make a difference there. So then I decided that I should also be a candidate, because to me, we have the pertinent education that is required in our scope of practice, because this all curriculums and the education standards are being set by the LSO itself. So how could anyone questions about our education and the competence? And there are some people within the profession, including the candidates, who are all the time, raising this askance about our education. This is very hurting and damaging. So I want. Another thing is there, the scope of practice, because when I saw that they said that there could be a possible expansion, I said, why possible expansion? Why not you be firm? There should be an expansion, which is really, it's a need of hour. Look at the immigration law, what we get in the FLSP. Why not over appeals and divisional court, which is my platform? And how to achieve that? I made the solution. First of all, go to the Law Society Act. Has any of this bencher so far, or the incumbent bencher, has ever questioned? Maybe they have questioned. They should have told us in the public domain. The rule 25.1 of the Law Society Act, which deals with the paralegal standing committee. That's the root. That's the main issue, paralegal standing committee, where there are 5 paralegals, 3 lay benchers, and 5 lawyers. So my question is there, what those 5 lawyers are doing there? This is the committee which deals with the bylaws and the regulation that is concerning the paralegal profession. So we cannot get anything unless there's 5 lawyers are there. So make an amendment. Has the benchers ever tried to amend this rule of 25.1 of the Law Society Act? Change it, make a voice, get it to the convocation. And another issue is there, the rule 16.1. Why again? There are 5 paralegal benchers. There are so many committees. Increase our number so that we can have our say on the basis that there are so many committees we have to perform there. And regarding the Legal Aid Ontario, Legal Aid Ontario is getting $353 million in 2021. And in the recent survey of the Federation of the Law Societies Ontario Associations, they say almost all the lawyers, they say they would advocate for funding to Legal Aid Ontario. Why those? Because this is the bread and butter. How much we are getting as a paralegal? Nothing. This is public money. Why? Because we are not included in the roster of service providers along with lawyers. So this is also, I want to raise issue with that. And it's nothing that they said it's not the role of bencher. Why not? The bencher will discuss this issue with the Law Society. We are not merely a rubber stamp. I would not be a rubber stamp there. We have the board of directors. I am the vice president and the communication director of OPA. I know when I came there and how I made some proposals and changes in the OPA. You are a bencher, you may be having a fiduciary duty to Law Society, but you have to see the professional interest and in the larger interest of public. So you raise your voice. I will end up with the access of justice. I will also remind LSO that they are not yet fulfilling the mandate fully to the full extent regarding their access to justice. Why? Access to justice services, the first thing to me in my perspective comes not only to protect the public interest, but see that it is done in the public gets access to justice in a timely manner, in a fair manner, in an affordable manner. We are not getting it. We are still not getting it. So what the law society is doing in that? This is my role. And this access to justice we can only obtain by expanding the scope of paralegal practice. If we expand the scope, the access to justice will be served. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to continue on. Just give us another minute here. We're going to have Daniel English join us here in person. It's getting set up.
Hi, good evening. My name is Daniel English. I'm a paralegal, and I'm a candidate in the 2023 LSO paralegal venture election. Paralegals were first thought of about 38 years ago, and then about 16 years ago, we had the P1 license, where paralegals as we now know them came to be. The P1 license and paralegals as we know them in Ontario is unique within North America. Paralegals as we know them in Ontario should be the envy of the legal world. But I think it's more likely that we are a curiosity. Many people who watch Ontario paralegals wonder how we do it. Some are waiting for us to fail. Some perhaps are waiting to adopt our model. We'll see what happens. Now, a lot of my colleagues that you have listened to in this election try to frame the paralegal project as promoting stronger paralegals, expanding the scope of practice of paralegals, and contemplating how that can or should inform the public interest. Because after all, the official mandate of the Law Society of Ontario is that we are regulated for the purpose of serving the public interest. But in 16 years since the P1 license was established, paralegals as a group have made little to no progress. And we might wonder why that is. My contention is that most of my colleagues are locked into a paradigm of having to speak to or argue with lawyers. It is my contention, which you can read on my website called betterparalegals.ca, that the Access to Justice project of paralegals really should be seen as part of a broader, deeply political initiative of affirmative action. What is affirmative action? Affirmative action, generally speaking, is a way to redress past wrongs, introduce more knowledge to the citizens, assist with marginalized peoples. In the case of paralegals, we were designed to be an engine of social change. We were designed to provide legal services in spaces and areas where lawyers don't have a lot of interest in going to. We are here to provide legal services to people who can't afford them, therefore never think about them. They don't think of the laws being relevant to their life, and they miss out on a fabulous opportunity to have the law step in and improve their life, rationalize their problems, and challenge oppression in some cases.
All right, so we're going to continue with Sean Harvey coming in next. Just give us another minute or so to get set up, and we'll continue on.
So my name is Sean Harvey, and I am a candidate for the 2023 venture election, as you're all well aware. In this election, you're going to hear a lot of people talk about change, new perspectives. You're going to hear people talk about expanding scope of practice, decorum, education. You're going to hear a lot of things from a lot of candidates. And they're all vying for your vote. And of course, so am I. But what makes me different is that at the end of the day, I've been saying these things for 5 years. If you take a look at my materials on caselaw.ninja, if you look at riverview.legal/education, if you take a look at my history on social media, my interactions in support of the Ontario Paralegal Association at various times, when you take a look at my track record, you're going to see somebody who is committed to change, who has a history of public service. And that's what's important here, is a history of public service, a name you can recognize, a name you can trust, someone who is level-headed, calculated, thoughtful, and when necessary, willing to take risks on your behalf, social risks, political risks, but all carefully calculated risks, and all for the benefit of paralegals, but viewed through the lens of protecting the public. Because that's really what this job is about. It's about how do we craft policy that both advances the interests of paralegals, but at the same time ensures that the public protection is maintained? How do we ensure that our education system has standards that can be met, that can be measured, that can be demonstrably useful in the field? How do we ensure that candidates coming out of school have the skills necessary to not only read a textbook, but to parse case law, to debrief a witness, to prepare a factum, to prepare a trial map? How do we make sure that our students and our future paralegals have those skills? I am someone who is obsessed with finding those very answers and crafting policies, as my history has clearly demonstrated. I'm not going to suggest that I am the only person that can do this job, but I am going to tell you that I am someone who wants to do this job. I have a firm with 5 associates, 1 business partner, and I have the financial resources to dedicate my time to do this job. Because that's really what is important, that I do the work, that I research case law, that I read the policies, that I build the relationships, that I get on the phone and talk to as many benchers as I can. Go have coffee with them, and go and slowly work with them to ensure that they understand that relationships are ultimately what cause change. Relationships are the only thing that is going to make a difference, not just in this election, but in the progression of who we are. Paralegals in Ontario, as my friend Daniel English says, are a curiosity. We are a group of professionals that stands apart, unique to other jurisdictions in the world. We have the ability to demonstrate. We have the ability to litigate. We have the ability to stand on our own 2 feet. And what I'm suggesting to you is help me help our students, our young professionals, the new to the field, to stand on their 2 feet and to do something. Help me be in the right place to craft the policies, to make the recommendations. Thank you, and I encourage you to vote.
Thank you very much, Sean. And again, we might have another minute here. I'm going to bring in Deborah here off Zoom, and we'll continue on.
Here. Hi, JP. How are you?
Good. It's a lot more coordination in person than it was doing the one interviews over Zoom. So, Deborah, I'm going to turn it over to you. You have 5 minutes to say maybe your last words here on why the paralegals that are listening should vote for you.
Okay, great. Thank you, JP, just for putting this together and taking the time to let people know what's going on. And I apologize I couldn't be there in person tonight. I had planned to, but I had some last minute things with work and was unable to make it. So just want to leave you with a few words. I'm asking voters really just to vote for me because I really believe that there is a real risk at having the conversation about discrimination be silenced at the Law Society, and I don't think that that should happen. This conversation about discrimination, it includes all forms of discrimination. So we're talking about ableism, we're talking about racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, mental health, all of those conversations, they are encompassed by under discrimination, under that umbrella of EDI. And we are hearing people say that they don't want to talk about that anymore. And as legal professionals, I think we really need to have those tools in order to competently deal with these issues in our practice as it impacts us and our colleagues and our clients. I really don't believe that we can properly serve the people of Ontario if we're unable to empathize with them. I also want to see expansion of scope. Many of us do. And I believe that as much as the next paralegal, it's inevitable as this profession grows, we really do want to see our scope expand. But I think that we need to do that in a strategic way. We need to secure expansion in strategic ways. I have board experience. I've sat on the board of directors for a provincial agency for 2 years. I was recently reappointed for another 3 years. So I understand how this works. I understand how to navigate that. I understand what it takes to have conversations with fellow board members to get them on board. And so I'm looking forward to being able to do that at the LSO. And one of the main things that I believe is holding paralegals back from expansion of scope is education and training. I think the Law Society has not done the best job in order to improve education and training for paralegals. So I'm really concerned, especially with the lack of training that paralegal students are receiving. Paralegal students are not getting the same level of training that law students are. And the LSO is responsible for that. They're responsible for ensuring that all lawyers and paralegals are properly trained. And they have not been doing that for paralegals. If you take a look at the law practice program for students at law, it is far better than what paralegals receive. And because of that, students at law are coming out of school and are ready to practice. They're coming out of school, they're getting licensed, and they're ready to go. For paralegals, that's not the case. And I don't believe that that's fair. The Law Society has failed us there. Paralegals have also, a much larger scope than we're aware of. And I don't think that the Law Society and schools really have done a lot of work in showing paralegals what we're able to do once we get out into the field. And so I think we really need to start making not only paralegals aware of what we can do, but also the public. The public needs to be aware of what they can call on a paralegal to do. There are a lot of people self-representing when they don't need to be. And so I really believe that we need to know more about what we're capable of doing, not just a fraction of it. We also need to learn that when we go to school. And most importantly, I would just like to say in my closing remarks that despite how you vote this week and next, I just want to encourage you to vote at all. Just vote. Don't be one of those people who thinks that, I used to be one of those people, I know what it's like to think that, my vote doesn't matter. If I don't vote, it's fine, someone else will. Your vote matters. So use your voice and use your vote. No matter who you decide to vote for, do your research. Make sure that you take a look at all of the interviews, all of the posts on social media, everything that you can find, read platforms. The Law Society has sent out each venture candidate platform. Make sure that you take the time to read those platforms. Take a look also, I would say, at the conduct of candidates on social media, and just be aware that how they interact on social media is an indication of how they will interact with other ventures at convocation. So you need to ask yourself who you want to represent you at convocation. And finally, I would really encourage you to reach out to myself. If you have questions about my platform and want to know more about what I'm trying to do, I welcome you to reach out, and I'm sure many of the other candidates would do that as well. So I thank you for taking this time.
Thanks so much, Deborah. Just give us another 30 seconds here, and then we have Barbara in person here joining us next.
Hi, everybody. I am Barbara Jones. I'm going to do what I tell my students never to do, and I'm going to go with the script tonight. I'm happy to be here in person. It's been a long 3 days. We're in the middle of final exams, so students, if you're watching, please stop watching and go back and study. I am running for bencher because I'm concerned that the path that we are on as paralegals is unsustainable. I'm convinced that if we are going to chart a new path for paralegals, we have to change that narrative. The way that we do that is by taking a holistic, long-term perspective on change. I want to build a future where paralegal jobs are valued, respected, and where justice is much more accessible for all Ontarians. I understand the role of a bencher and the fiduciary duty to the public. It is my position that what is in the best interest of the public is not mutually exclusive of what's in the best interest of our paralegal profession. I think that they are aligned. But why me? What do I bring to the table, and why should you vote for me? I believe that my experience as a late career paralegal and a paralegal educator gives me a unique multi-generational lens through which I can identify missed opportunities, specifically at the Paralegal Standing Committee. Like most paralegals, my role or my job is different today than what I had imagined it would be as a paralegal student. In the last 7 years, I have been a field placement officer for the paralegal program, the academic advisor, a partial load professor, but most importantly, a volunteer mentor for any and all students. I have identified issues that created barriers for our graduates from becoming practice ready upon graduation, and I have tirelessly advocated for those issues to be fixed. I have given thousands of hours, unpaid, over the last 7 years because I am passionate about the future of this profession. I am connected. This is my second time running for bencher. I have made it my priority since entering the profession to connect with the leaders of this profession. There is a reason why Robert Byrd has unequivocally endorsed me. It is not because I am a nice person or that we are friends, because we're not. It's because I have been in his ear and all of the other ears of the other benchers, whether they liked it or not, asking why. Why is immigration no longer considered a mandatory course? Why is the FLSP not embedded in the P1 license? Why is field placement only 120 hours? When is field placement going to increase to 240 hours? How are we going to collect the data necessary to ensure that the FLSP survives in 3 years? What is the implementation plan? These are just some of my most recent questions, but I can assure you there were many, many more. This election is important. We all know what is happening between the two slates that are running for the lawyer bencher candidates. Our collective future as legal professionals, both lawyer and paralegals, and our privilege to be self-regulated is in jeopardy. Who the lawyers elect will have a significant impact on how we can do what we can do as paralegal benchers at convocation. However, I do see an opportunity, regardless of who is elected on the lawyer bencher side, for the paralegal bencher to make a significant impact and strengthen the future of the profession at the Paralegal Standing Committee. I am asking for an opportunity to continue the work, and there is a lot of work, of the previous benchers in strengthening the paralegal competence framework. I see a future when there is more than one regulator regulating all legal professionals. Maybe a college of civil litigators, or a college of criminal lawyers, and hopefully a college of paralegals. It is important that we look at the core competencies of each bencher we elect this term. We need to get as much done as possible under the current landscape and that allows to plan for our future. We need to attract and support paralegals. We need to rethink how we are training the next generation of leaders for this field. We are fortunate to have 19 worthy candidates running for 5 bencher positions. It is clear that we all want a better profession. It is my hope that after this election is over, that we all continue to build on the unity that we have started. We need one strong voice, one strong association outside the LSO who can lobby for changes that we cannot make at convocation. There is a lot of work to be done at convocation. I am a leader who listens. I will avoid the us versus them thinking and work collaboratively to improve access to justice. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I recognize that your time is valuable, and I'm grateful for your consideration in this election.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we have Demetra up next. Just give us a couple minutes here to bring her. She's here in person, and we will continue on in just about 2 minutes.
Hi everyone, my name is Demetra Dimakopoulos. I'm one of the paralegal candidates in the 2023 bencher election. Oops, it's gonna fall down. The last couple of months has been very interesting. This is my first election. And, you know, looking back at the last couple of months, I really feel like the 3 big things that are really important for this position are board experience, having the temperament to work with other people, even when you don't agree with them, and being intrinsically motivated. And I'll go through each. With board experience, I think it's really important that this is not your first time working on a board. I've worked on 2 university boards. They're both positions are now finishing up. So this is actually a really good time in my life to actually be taking on this opportunity. And I've worked as a management consultant where I worked with a not-for-profit and I helped with board restructuring. So I'm very familiar with the governance model, how this works, what would be expected of me in this position. In terms of working with others and understanding that you really need to have the temperament to work with other people, to be able to hear opinions that you don't agree with. And you could have all these things that you want to do, but if you come in screaming and shouting at people, no one's going to be listening to you within a couple of minutes. And thirdly, in terms of being intrinsically motivated, there are a lot of things that happen throughout this election campaign, name calling, things being taken out of context, a lot of things there. And if you're not intrinsically motivated, if you're swayed by the opinions of others, it becomes really difficult when you're in the position as a board member to do something that would be great for the public, in the public interest, but you might have all these people yelling at you and screaming at you on the internet. And so it's really important that you're not swayed by those comments and you're not fighting on the internet in these rants and these comments. So I feel that I have the board experience, I have the temperament to work with others. I am very much intrinsically motivated. I've stayed away from any of the name calling that's gone on through the campaign. So today I'm really asking for your vote. I've decided to run because I'm a firm believer that I don't want to just sit back and complain about things. I'm going to get in there and put my name down so that I can take part in being part of change. And I would really love to see us create an environment where all licensees feel welcomed and they have equal opportunity. And once we accomplish that, I feel like that is very much in the public's interest and will make for a better profession, and it will help protect the public because we have a diverse group of people who represent the public that we're here to serve. So I'm asking for your vote today for me and for all of my teammates on the Good Governance Coalition. So we have Paula Callahan, we have Mike Redan, we have Deborah Mariah, and we have Michelle Lamazzo. And so please go out there and vote in the next week or so, hopefully tomorrow. And please don't waste your vote. Please take this opportunity to go out there and you've earned the right to vote, and please exercise that right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimitra. I think we have next Sean O'Connor joining us. I'm going to pause here for another minute or so until he gets in the room, and we'll continue on.
Good evening, it's Sean O'Connor. I'm running for bencher in the 2023 bencher election. The last time I appeared, I said that there were several people that I wanted to work with. I still want to work with those individuals. However, this election has to be about transparency. It has to be about the streamlining of the education process. It has to be about the success of the profession in the public interest. And without success in education and transparency, there will be nobody representing the public interest. I mean, think about it. You spend 46 cents of every dollar that you earn and 13 cents of every dollar you spend, and this is what you got for it. And then we want to talk about the public interest. Well, the disciplinary panel at the Law Society has to be strengthened in it. People who commit fraud and stuff like that should never be allowed to have their license back, no matter what. The education process. I think the experiment with the education for the introduction of paralegals has been a failure, and I've said that more than once. We have to reevaluate the education system. And I mean, can you go to any law school? No. Then why is it you can go to private colleges and take a paralegal diploma? And the reason I can say that is because I take in 2 to 4 students every semester and have done for probably the last 15 years. And I can tell you most of the students can quote from the chapter, but they can't find the form, they can't fill out the form that gets them into the courtroom. So what good will the law do if you can argue it if you can't get into the courtroom to argue it? Kids are spending tens of thousands of dollars on educations that they can't even find the courtroom, let alone fill out a form, and that's wrong and it has to stop. I've been advocating for that very strongly as an advisor appointed by the president of the University and College of Humber and Guelph. And I'll see to it that that's part of the curriculum in the very near future. Because it breaks my heart to see kids that come into my office that have all the tools to be successful, but don't know how to fill out a form or how to think critically to fill out a form. Now, let me say a couple of words to the kids that are just holding their own. Stay in your seat. Don't quit. Finish the course, get your diploma. Whatever you decide to do after this, it's going to help you a great deal. Because the particularization and dedication that you're learning now is going to help you in whatever field you go into, even if it is the paralegal industry. If you want to do your placement at my office, by all means, go to Mary at Humber or any one of your alumni and have them give me a call. I'd be happy to speak with you. As far as this election goes, as I said, this is about transparency, education, streamlining, and disciplinary proceedings, because we can't have a profession that has a perception that they're either not good enough, they're not smart enough, or they're not trustworthy. That's got to be eliminated. If this industry, this profession is going to survive, it has to survive on integrity and honesty, which are the primary codes with the Law Society in terms of governance. And I think the governance at the Law Society is going in the wrong direction. I heard Paula, I believe it was Paula Kavanaugh, and I look forward to working with her. I believe it was Paula Kavanaugh said that 8 prior treasurers endorsed the good governance. Well, that pretty much sums up why the slate is there, why there's a ruckus about the direction and the administration of the Law Society. It's an obscene amount of money, and I don't see me getting a lot for it, even though I contribute to it constantly. You know, you hear a lot about, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Okay, is that going to fall? Okay, good. You know, immigration is coming. Family law is going to be expanded. It's going to take time, but more importantly, it's going to take prestige. And when we start to streamline education and transparency, they're going to start seeing us as an elite group, as they should. Because I can tell you, after 25 years of doing this job, I've earned it. I've earned that trust. Most of the lawyers that are in this election will know my name if they don't know me personally. And yes, I've got lawyers that I work with that come to me to handle their cases. I've even had a judge or two come to me and handle their cases. And at the end of the day, you're looking for somebody that has the experience that will get to be heard at the Law Society. And if they don't have recognition, they're not going to get heard. Because unless they see you as an equal or a person that will have to be reckoned with, you're not getting elected. So please don't waste your vote on loudmouths or people you don't know or people with very little experience. Vote for those people who are tenured, that have been here for the long haul. Thank you for your time.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean. And I think this may conclude the entire run here. I'm just going to double check to see if there's anyone else. I know Matt Olson was dealing with a client emergency that he sends his regrets. And Paul Callahan is under the weather, couldn't make it in and not feeling well to be able to speak here as well. I'm just going to confirm, I think that is it. So for everyone, regardless of which 5 of these wonderful candidates, either the ones we heard from today or the other ones that you support, please take the time starting tomorrow to exercise your right to vote there. Vote for your candidates. Don't let voter turnout be as low as it was the last time, because you get to control the future and the direction of the Law Society in terms of the paralegal benchers. So thanks for everyone for tuning in today, and thanks for everyone for tuning into all of the videos and interviews that we have done. If you've missed any, be sure to check them out before you cast your vote starting tomorrow. Thanks again. All the best.